Welcome to my New World preview event feedback video. I really had a blast playing the preview event. That's why I played over 110 hours. Game really has a solid core to build upon and has so much potential to become one of the best MMOs because it's unique. It has something that no other MMO has, which is the Dark Souls-like combat, and the world is probably the best looking world I've seen in any MMO. The graphics are stunning, but there are some things that really need some work. So let's start with the most important topic, which is the gameplay. I really like the gameplay. I'm a huge fan of Dark Souls and their combat. New World has kind of the same core combat with rolling, attacking, but it also has 3 skills, which is pretty good addition to it. Right now, my issue with the gameplay is that it's very clunky. Well, why is it clunky? Well, you can't really cancel any actions if you're further than half of the animation. In Dark Souls, you could literally roll at the last millisecond. Also, the staggering is a very big issue in the game. I feel like the game doesn't have any invincible frames that Dark Souls has. I think the game could benefit from this a ton. Right now, if you just roll out of an X attack, there's a big chance the magnetism just goes onto you and stagger you again, and there's no way to fight back. How invincible frames could be added is just like Dark Souls with the equipment weight. Right now in New World, there's no real benefit of having lower equipment weight. You only roll slightly further if you are really low equipment weight. So the abilities the game has, you can have 3 on each weapon, which isn't too bad if you think about it, because there's 3 weapons, that means 9 skills. 9 skills is not bad, right? But the game has a global cooldown, so you can't even rotate through weapons like Elder Scrolls Online has. I think this is such a missed opportunity for very nice, fast-paced, cool-looking PvP. Removing the global cooldown and rebalancing the game for that will be more beneficial in the long run when there's more weapons that fluently work together. For example, a full-on decked mage with a Shadow Staff, Frost Staff, and a Fire Staff. Also, another issue with the global cooldown is certain abilities take a long time. For example, Final Stand has a 2-minute cooldown, and the buffs also vanish if you swap weapons. So if you think, okay, I want to buff myself up for this big elite because I want to solo it, so I'm gonna cast Final Stand, then go in with my axe, cast Berserk, and try to take him down with my 2-handed mace, that's not possible, because the moment you swap your weapon, the buff vanishes. During the preview event, there were not enough weapons to really shape your playstyle and not enough abilities either. At least 9 abilities per weapon so you can shape the playstyle that you actually want to play. Right now you're so limited, you end up picking something that you might not even use. Also, certain skills are very undertuned, like Rain of Arrows is basically useless. Hitboxes also seem to be pretty glitchy, and I know for a fact it's not latency issues because I was on my EU server and I have very good internet. It mostly happened on the crawling creatures and the ghouls. I had an issue with range mobs walking so far outside of my radius after shooting a few times. This usually happened during corruption events, but also later at the level 60 area with the archers. They walk away so far after shooting you a few times. And once they do that, they pull a few mobs and then you end up fighting 3 of them. I think they should cut the range in walking away and just make it walk away or dodge more often, so you can chain the enemy walking away with charge abilities like Leap Strike, for example. Aggro seems also to be very inconsistent. There's no real system for aggroing. It seems like it's just random. I could be pulling a level 5 wolf as a level 55 by standing pretty far away, but then I could literally stand next to a level 61 wolf and not pull him at all. So aggro needs to be looked at. So let's talk about swimming, because this has bothered me a little bit at certain points in the game. I'll show you some clips. I think everyone can agree with me on this, that walking at the bottom of the ocean looks more odd than swimming with heavy armor. How swimming could be introduced is by using the equip weight. Based on how heavy your equipment is, it calculates your swimming speed. If your equipment is in a low tier, you swim fast, medium, you go normal, and heavy, you go very slow. So we're done talking about the gameplay now. Let's talk about the leveling experience. I got up to level 58, almost 59. So it's been confirmed that we played on accelerated XP, so we got more XP than we were getting on launch. It still took 110 hours for me to get 58, and all I did was meta grinding. I did the faction missions, I did the corruption portals, I grinded elite areas. That's almost all I did. So it's gonna take a long time to get max level. And this worries me because we don't have any content. It's the same content over and over and over again. The questing experience is awful. It actually is probably the worst questing experience I've ever had. Basically, all you do is kill mobs and collect their drop, loot chest. That's all you do. You do this up until level 25, then you start doing the portals. I've had this one quest, which was an actual proper quest line from an NPC, not just a bounty board or anything like that. I had to loot chests in a copied structure, and there were 9 towers, and there were 3 quests where I had to loot 3 chests in 3 towers. So they milked the same quest 3 times. I really hope this is a placeholder, but I don't think so because they mentioned in the dev blog that they want to work on quest variety. So I don't think they have anything done with quests right now, which is gonna make me worry because the game is not that far away anymore. It's going to take like 200 hours to get max level. How are you gonna give 200 hours of a proper leveling experience in just 5-6 months? I just don't see it happen. I really don't know how they're gonna succeed in this. Because your average player is not going to do the bounty quests or corruption events for 200 hours. The average player is going to get bored after 10 hours, he's going to quit, and he's going to go on to the next or current mainstream game that all his friends play. That's just how it is. So New World is actually a very, very big game. It takes quite long to go from south all the way to the north. And because the game is so big, it's very difficult to make unique assets for the game. So every farm you go to has the same buildings, the same template, and it gets boring very fast. I do understand why this is happening, but I just hope further down the line they're not afraid to adjust the world and go back to the older areas. The old school RuneScape team basically did this with a big continent they added later on, and after the 3 revamps, they really nailed how that continent feels. So I really hope yet again that the devs are not afraid to go back to old content and fine-tune it. Not only structures are recycled, but a lot of the mobs are recycled as well. You probably need double or triple the mob variety because you end up fighting the same mobs over and over again, which can get quite boring. I remember the second day I was level 18 and I was exploring around and I saw this new area with ghosts and like Dark Souls, Bloodborne looking enemies. I went there as a level 18 and it was a level 26 plus area, and this area turned out to be my favorite area because I've been playing the same forest looking area for almost like 2 days and I got bored. I just got bored of fighting the same enemies. I wanted something new. Your average player's not going to do that. They're not going to fight high level mobs and die over and over again. But going to that area really helped me because I was about to quit the game. But even that area, which is called Weaver's Fen, has mob recycle issues. I was thinking about this idea where the game already has like these Van Helsing looking armor styles, vampire hunter armor. Why not make a town that has humans wander around, but when it's night, they turn into werewolves? Because the area has a moon, it has a day and night cycle, you can use that into the sandbox. I think this will be a great addition. You can even tie a quest to it. This game really has some amazing sandbox elements that can be built upon. I also had this nice refreshing feeling on Morningdale, which is northeast of the map. This is also the only area that has rain. I think a great addition to this area would be some proper thunderstorms. The game has a beautiful 7.1 audio. I added an example here with a proper thunderstorm. But why just stop at thunderstorms, right? If they decide to add a desert area, they can make a sandstorm. It just makes the areas feel so unique and special if they have their own touch. So when the preview event launched, the game had a massive issue on mob density. They took way too long to spawn. They later on fixed this very fast actually. I was quite surprised by this. But the system needs some fine tuning. Because right now, it doesn't take into account how many people are there. So if you're questing alone, doing a very difficult quest, I was doing this end game quest, and there were these 4 mobs in front of the fortress, and they all had shields, and it was really rough to kill them. By the time I killed the last one, the other one already respawned, so I basically couldn't do the quest. My suggestion is having a proximity field in every area, and it calculates how many people are in there. Based on how many people are there, the system adjusts how fast the mobs respawn. I think the system will fix this issue. Another feedback I have regarding mobs is having more elites patrol around the world. They have to be unique models though in order for this to really work and to make it feel like a special fight. It needs abilities. There's a few caves here and there which have rare elites, but having elites patrol in the world would be even better. I found this one big ogre. I have footage of it, but not when I actually engaged at a low level. I tried to take him down. I almost killed him, but eventually after 5 times dying, I gave up because repairing costs a lot of money. And getting repair kits is a pain in the ass. So I went back to him and got my revenge at a higher level. If I had someone to play with to take him down, it would have been really satisfying to kill a big boy. Yeah, I think elites wandering in the world is really going to give that MMO feel of connecting people. Okay, so the world is beautiful, but it feels bland. Why does it feel bland? There's no NPCs. There's only the same NPCs in the settlements. I think once they start working on the questing experience, they should put more NPCs in the wilds. Heck, even like a poor, low quality patrol mission that classic WoW used to do a ton of the times. Even WoW TBC has those quests where you see someone stuck in a house with a lot of monsters around. You talk to the guy, you accept the quest, and you patrol him to safety to the road. That could be a quest. I think it would be more exciting than just a bounty kill quest. Make sure the patrol NPC is not a complete snail though, and shouldn't be frustrating to do. I would suggest them to look at Elder Scrolls Online. They have voice actors on every single quest. The quests actually have story. It even has jokes, unique rewards, costumes. They really nail the questing experience. Alright, let's talk about group activities right now, which is a big part of the game since it's open world. You have corruption portals. They're available very early on, level 25. They're meta straight away. In my opinion, the lowest level a portal should be is 45. If they consider adding quests and a main story with actual story about the corruption, I think once you complete the storyline and you're at level 45, I think one quest should be go to a corruption portal. We don't really know anything about the story. Making the portals the earliest at 45 will help the leveling experience if we're gonna have quests. It's gonna give variety. You don't want people to grind portals from 25 to 60 because they're gonna get burned out and they're gonna quit the game. It's also very easy content to do. Right now you can just get 10 people and do these portals in 30 seconds to a minute. I do have an idea to fix this. Basically, the mob density proximity spawner, this system should be added to the corruption activities as well, but it should change the health of the mobs. The only issue with this is you can't walk through players. So if you have 10 people there and you want to be efficient in attacking the same mob, you can't do that. How you can do this is if you're not PvP flagged, you should be able to phase through players that don't have PvP on. Why is this change so important? Instance content with a lot of people, for example 25 or 40, it's going to be impossible to damage mobs if there's an entire line in front of you, and casters cannot even shoot through teammates either, which needs to be adjusted. So having this change early in the game is going to benefit later on when they do decide to add instance content. What can spice up this event as well is being able to go further than just 5 waves. This would only work for the 5-man corruption portal. Right now with a portal you have 5 waves, you kill the boss. I think they should add more to it. 5 waves, a boss, another 5 waves, a boss. Keep making it harder and harder with a time limit that you have to slay every single mob, otherwise you fail. And how further you get, how better your reward is. I also think the corruption events should have unique loot tables with gear that has corruption resist on it. Maybe even introduce set items. Right now you get these chests and 90% of the time you get a gray. It's not satisfying. Making these things harder and more rewarding would help a lot. Another group activity is these elite areas. They're basically open world dungeons, which is quite fun, but it's also too easy right now. I think they should apply the same system that I talked about on the corruption portal with the health, because right now you just tag them up, you get full XP, you get full reward, you get full items. That's another thing. The drops that you get here are insane. You get so many drops that you can just dismantle. It saturates the economy so much, and it devalues crafting players a ton. There's going to be no incentive to actually go out in the wild cutting down trees or mining, because you can get the highest tier items just by farming these elite areas. So this needs to be looked at. I don't even think increasing the health based on how many people are there is going to be enough. I think they should adjust the loot table. Another leveling method is faction quests. This system is basically grab a bounty from the board, kill a few mobs, loot a few chests. You have PvP faction quests, which is loot a few chests, kill a few mobs, loot some items. That's it. Honestly, I would scrap this entire system. I think this faction board could be a nice opportunity to get specific bounties for PvP activities to give players more incentive to use certain weapons or try different playstyles. For example, if they add this bounty board with a big PvP update where you can enter battlegrounds, I think using a bounty board as incentive to use different weapons or abilities, or force people to capture flag or play objective, I think this is a great addition. This is just a basic idea and it can be built upon. The warboard, which is currently used for invasions, could also be used to sign up for battlegrounds. Both of them are in every town. My prediction is that PvP players will get neglected after the first few weeks. A lot of casuals are just gonna turn off PvP after they die a few times or not even bother with it at all. The world is so big that it's not even likely to bump into someone that has PvP on. There's also not much incentive to even turn PvP on because it's just a 10% XP bonus. That's why this faction board idea and a PvP battleground update is really needed, so the PvP players can PvP at all time. So with the faction board, obviously we do have the faction vendor. Right now that vendor is flawed as hell. The tokens that you can get are super easy to farm just from the corruption events, and the rewards that you can buy are way too strong. So that's why I think those faction tokens should only be obtainable by PvP activities, maybe killing people in the world, winning battlegrounds, obviously the bounties. I think this entire vendor needs an overhaul and just give PvP related items so PvP players do have progression if they just want to PvP. So now that we talked a little bit about gear, I want to go more in depth about the gear progression in the game. Right now the milestones for gear are too far apart. I would love to see the gap for gear to be 10 levels. That way, playing through the game, you actually feel like you're progressing. Not just gear-wise because of these shorter milestones, but also visually. I know it's going to take more time for the artist to make more armor, but progression in a game like this is very important. Let's talk about the rarity of items that you can get. So I'm not 100% sure if this is actually the case, but I never got a rare before level 20 and I never got an epic before level 35. I think being able to get a level 1 epic with a super rare chance is exciting. The difference between an epic and a rare or uncommon is not even that big. I also saw a picture here of a level 1 epic in their dev blocks. So the game really lacks a specific loot table. You don't really see people walk around with very cool gear and wonder, where did he get that? If you see someone walk around with a pirate hat and you would ask where he got it, there's a big chance he's gonna say that he didn't even get it from pirates. I think this damages the end game and the depth of the game in general. The possibilities of just interaction, doing variety of content because you want an item. That's another issue with the legendaries right now. They're not exciting. You just do corrupted events, you get a bunch of chests, you open them with rare luck gear, and you just hope you're getting them. Legendaries do not even feel unique, because the only difference between a legendary and an epic is that it has one more stat. It doesn't have a special proc, it doesn't give you a buff. This could be built upon so easily, even further than any game has tried even. For example, you defeat the Nature Springen, and this legendary bow adjusts your spread shot into a 360 AoE. This makes the bow special, it gives the bow identity, It gives people a reason to farm the nature springen. This needs to be adjusted before the game comes out, otherwise people already have a ton of legendaries that don't feel unique and they're just basically slightly better epics. I would suggest them to look at legendaries in World of Warcraft, mostly from Classic up until Cataclysm. Even needing certain professions to make the legendaries, which Classic WoW had, is huge. It gives so much depth to the game and makes the item feel so special. So yeah, basically what it comes down to is different loot tables. Every mop, different loot table. Mop high level, even though it's the same copied one, different loot table. So exploration, very important aspect of the game, especially with a beautiful world that New World has. You will be doing a lot of walking. Exploring this game is very fun, but I feel like the only reason it was bearable was because of the OP Lifestaff blink, which is going to be nerfed, let's be honest. It was way too overpowered, it broke PvP. With this nerf, walking is going to take a long time from A to B. This isn't an issue in the early game when everything feels new to you, but once you walk through the same area 50 times, 100 times, it can get very boring. I do have a solution for this. No, it's not mounts. It could be mounts, but I will get into that in a bit. So I have like a very budget idea that doesn't take that much dev time. My idea is movement speed as a stat. I think this stat should be possible on level 50 tier plus. Why level 50 tier plus? Because that's the point of the game where you already explored everything. That's at the stage where you don't want to be slow. You don't want to walk hours and hours. You already seen everything. You just want to move on and make progress. This way the lower levels can still experience the beautiful world New World has made. Now what do I think about mounts? I love mounts. I mean, I play World of Warcraft. I have a ton of mounts. I like collecting mounts. New World doesn't have anything to collect. New World is an MMO that lacks an important element in MMOs, which is collecting, achieving stuff. I think mounts could be a way to collect stuff, but considering the game is not subscription based, they're gonna have to put most of the mounts in the store, which is gonna annoy a lot of people because I'm just gonna miss out on so many mounts that I can't get. I do think mounts can work in a stage where the developers already looked at adding mounts and made the next areas more stretched out. Because if that's not the case, you're gonna go through the world way too fast. If they do add mounts, I think mounts should be at level 60. So yeah, mounts could work. It could bring a lot of good to the game, but it could also bring a lot of bad to the game. So that's basically my opinion on mounts. The audio is quite inconsistent with sound effects. For example, swinging your axe on material is super loud. There's a few more things that are super loud, but my biggest complaint is the battle music. Because of the battle music, I never got to experience the actual music the game had to offer because you're usually in combat. You could be walking in the open, pull a wolf. You de-aggro, oh, you pull a bear. The drumming never stops, dude. The drumming is just banging in your ear the entire game. It's ruining players' immersion. I know that you want to make people aware that they pulled them up, but I honestly think it's not very necessary. Either make it a toggle or delete it. So I have a few more topics. This one is quality of life. So the first time you launch this game, you make a character. When I saw it, I was a little disappointed. It's just lacking for today's standards. Because customizing your character is so lacking in the game, I saw a lot of funny characters walking in the world. I would love to see more customization options. This could be added later though, it doesn't really have a priority. You can always make a barber later down the line and put them in the settlements. So I struggled a few times with seeing what item was best. Obviously the faction gear was the best. Who am I kidding? I would like to see a character screen with in-depth stats. I want to see how much damage boost I have on something. I want to see all the stats. Also the inconsistency with equipping multiple weapons. I don't think the stats on your weapon actually work, but the sockets do. So that would make weapons with a socket meta right away. At the start of the game, I was accepting every single quest. But later I realized you cannot abandon main quest. I wanted to get the legendary quest at 58 and I was forced to do level 10 quests to clear my quest log so I can grab the legendary quest. I have another one here. Stamina bar below enemy health bar. This could be very useful against shield opponents. Right now, you just don't know how many times you need to hit someone before its stamina drops. So the last day of the preview event, I was just crafting and experiencing that, and I realized that cutting gems basically gives no XP. The meta is just mining rocks and making stones. I would also like to see a toggle sprint. Your pinky will thank me later. Right now you're just forced to rebind the auto run option to something easy to click on and use that all the time. Alright, so trading. I think trading needs to be there on launch. It looks very unpolished when you have to drop items and you cannot drop it in the settlement because you're too scared that someone else would just pick it up when you want to give something to your friend. So after I got a lot of gathering skills very high, the compass was just tracking a ton of stuff that I wasn't even interested about. Like, for example, when I was like going in the wild trying to find ores, I could see all this hemp tracked, all these animals, all this irrelevant information, and I wasn't going for. So I would like to be able to adjust the compass and select the things that I want to track. This will help not make the compass clutter as much as it does right now. So early on in the game, when I didn't know much about it, food buffs were very weird to me. That was just a ton of text. I just wanted to know what it did. I don't even know how much buffs actually give. I don't know if I get damage reduction against Ancient or if I do more damage to them. There's just no information on what it actually does. I would like to see less text, more straight to the point, gives you plus 5% damage. Reduces 5% of damage taken, increases corruption resistance by 20%. I just want to know more information about what the food actually does. So a dueling system would be nice as well to see, to practice fights and such, have fun with friends, maybe even hold a contest. I wasn't really a fan of the Azoth. You use it for fast traveling, which gets incredibly expensive once you reach a high level. And if you end up picking a faction that is just getting dominated and you have no territory, you pay so much. At one point, I had to pay 500 Azoth to fast travel, which is half the cap. And it takes quite long of grinding elite areas to get that Azoth back or corruption events. I don't see myself spending any Azoth on crafting. I did it a few times at the end of the preview event. They said that crafters could just craft without fighting mobs, but that's not really true, because how is that crafter gonna get Azoth to add an enchant to the weapons or armor that he crafts? It's basically not possible. He's forced to do corruption events, so this needs to be looked at. My last topic is content ideas. Let's start with fishing. We all love fishing. I saw it on the forums. Everyone wants fishing. Right now, fish is only obtainable from provisioning chests. I actually do hate chests. I think they're very low effort content and it needs to go, dude. It needs to go out of the window. I think fishing could bring a lot of potential in content. Not just multiple fish, multiple food buffs, etc., but also stuff for your house. For example, having a very rare chance on catching a specific fish that you can just put on the wall. I also would love to see a crafting update later down the line. Crafting is a big part of the game and incredibly well done. Good job whoever designed it. I think recipes should be dropped by monsters, especially elites that patrol around. For example, this ogre and patrol elites that I talked about earlier. I think the ogre could drop the heavy armor helmet that it's wearing. So you kill the ogre, you have a chance of getting the recipe, you right click on it, you learn it, you get the materials, you make it, and you look freaking badass. This also gives variety in the gear progression. So my last content ideas for housing. I really do love housing in any game. And New World housing is pretty damn good. However, placing objects is a little clunky and you don't have that much freedom as you would think. I would like to see a advanced mode where you have the option to face objects into each other, use coordinates to move objects, and XYZ moving, just like every game engine has basically, where you can drag the object a specific way in a straight line. But yeah, having those options on advanced mode for the sweaty nerds like me, and the people who are not into housing that much, they can still use the regular settings, which is very accessible for them. Having more placeable objects within crafting is also needed. Right now, the crafting station to make furniture, pretty bland right now. I feel like very early concepts. I have a few ideas here that might spice it up and give you more variety in different skills as well. So the ideas I have is being able to make rugs with leatherworking, like for example the bear hide carpet that is already in the game. Being able to make cloth rugs and curtains with weaving. Right now you can just get these items from chests, and as I said earlier, chests are just bad game design. We need to get rid of them. We need to make chests rare with actual items in them. Blacksmithing to make stoves that are functional. Right now the housing doesn't have that much purpose besides the buffs. I think having progression in housing, for example the tier 1 stove is the equivalent of a tier 1 campfire, so you can really make that much food. Tier 2, etc. So the highest tier stove that you can make with blacksmithing is going to act as the tier 5 campfire. I think this is a nice upgrade progression within the housing system. I would like to see some more use for moats, for example flowers with arcana. Stonecutting is really lacking variety in usage. Like I said, the only meta is basically just cutting stone, making bricks, and that's all you do. I think being able to make statues and fountains and such for your house is going to spice up stonecutting a lot. So the vegetables that you get in the wild, like carrots, broccoli, and all that such, are from provisioning chests. Yet again, I mean, you know my stance on the chests. So my idea was using the harvesting system to grow vegetables in houses with a garden. Also being able to get elemental plants that you can place in your house from gathering them in the world. Maybe 1 in 1,000 or something. Also shouldn't be taking too much dev time since it wouldn't require any new art. So these were my content ideas, basically the stuff that I would like to see in the future. I have one more subject, which are bugs related. I've had a fair amount of crashes in the game where the game would just close by itself. I had to relaunch the game and the game would have no audio, so I had to relaunch again. This audio bug even happened when I died and resurrected with my life staff perk. I would just spawn with no audio and have to restart my game. Right now the corruption and blight resistance is underneath the ability cooldown text. I've seen some floating rocks and a ton of graphical issues regarding to lighting and particle effects, for example mist and such. I've had a cave where the sun was shining through the floor. If you pay a lot of attention to the world, you can see a lot of graphical bugs. Even 2D textures, which is quite odd to see. Also the mist effects, the mist particle effects are also 2D, so if you look underneath it, it just vanishes. There's also a health bar bug, which makes your health bar go gray and you can't see how much health you have. So you basically have to click on your character screen to see how much health you have. I've had some weapon desyncing where I would swap my weapon too fast in between and I would hold the wrong weapon. I've noticed a lot of issues in the placement of resources. For example, ores are in the wall a ton of the time. Also floating hemp and even floating loot. I've had this issue with the life staff where you look on the floor to heal yourself, it casts it underneath the ground and it won't heal you. I think being able to shift click to cast on self would help this issue a little bit, but it still needs polishing in case you are a healer and want to heal someone else. Well, that was it boys. This has been my feedback video. Be sure to comment down below your suggestions to the developers and what you would like to see in the game. Subscribe for more New World content, and I hope to see you guys soon again. Later.